BepiColombo isn't just investigating the origins of the planet and the solar system. It's also attempting to reveal what's going on with Mercury today. Messenger's measurements of Mercury's magnetosphere suggest strange things are at play. And this may reveal what's happening inside the planet. One of the team that worked on Messenger is now just as involved with BepiColombo, Suzie Imber. So, Suzie, the planet Mercury has a special significance to you. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I've spent most of my scientific career studying Mercury. So I happen to be working at NASA at the moment when their spacecraft arrived at the planet Mercury in 2011.
That's good timing.
It was good timing, accidental. And so I've been working on it for the last 7 years. So it's going to make up a good portion of my whole career, I think, by the end.
So Mercury's magnetosphere is quite different from what we usually find. So why is it so interesting?
Yeah, it's a very strange, anomalous planet in terms of its magnetic field. So its field is weak. It's about 100 times weaker than the Earth's magnetic field. It has a big iron core, but it rotates very slowly, the planet, and so its field is not very strong. And the magnetic field is offset to the north of the planet. So you would normally expect your magnetic field to be centered on the middle of the planet.
So how will Bepi sort of improve our knowledge?
Well, Messenger's orbit was interesting. It went very close to the north pole of the planet and then very far away from the south pole of the planet. And so we know a lot about the magnetic field on the northern side of the planet, but not much about the southern hemisphere. And because the field is offset to the north, that means that the interaction of the particles with the surface, which is guided by the magnetic field, is going to be quite different between the north and the south. And we've never had a chance to measure the south before. So we're going to find out some quite interesting information with BepiColombo.
But how do we measure it? What instruments are on board Bepi that will allow us to measure it?
Both of the Bepi spacecraft, so this is the Japanese spacecraft and the European spacecraft, have instruments to measure the magnetic field. So they're magnetometers. They are on a boom far away from the spacecraft.
Oh, so it doesn't get the magnetic field from the spacecraft?
Exactly. The other instrumentation that we need is instruments that measure particles, so ions and electrons. So we have instruments on board both spacecraft to measure ions and electrons. And with those pieces of information, we can piece together a lot about the dynamics of Mercury.
Does that give us any indication of what's happening inside the planet, inside the core?
Well, it sets a really big technical problem for all those dynamo scientists out there who are trying to make theories to produce a magnetic field that looks like Mercury's. Analysing the magnetosphere is how we worked out that the magnetic field was offset. All we can do is look at what we can see outside the planet and try to infer what could happen inside. And yeah, the best way is to understand the magnetosphere, yes.
But it's not just the secrets of Mercury's interior that Bepi might reveal. Activity on the sun's surface generates space weather, and studying its impact on Mercury's magnetosphere may also help us here on Earth.
Space weather at Mercury is extremely dynamic. We have much more severe space weather at Mercury than we do at the Earth because it's got a weak magnetic field and because it's close to the sun. So a combination of those things lead to extreme space weather events. Analogous to the worst ever space weather event that has ever happened on the Earth, which happened in the 1850s, the Carrington event. And so we see that sort of magnitude of event at Mercury every day.
Wow. The Carrington event of 1859 was a coronal mass ejection that caused vast, brilliant aurora across the Earth. Back then, it was a spectacular light show. But when this violent electrical phenomena occurs again, it could cause devastation to our power grids and communication satellites. BepiColombo could lead to a far deeper understanding of the danger.
BepiColombo is a 2-spacecraft mission, and the real beauty of that is that we might have one spacecraft looking at what's coming from the sun and the other spacecraft looking at the impacts on the magnetosphere.
But measuring them both together at the same time.
And that's never been done before. We've never sent 2 spacecraft to be orbiting another planet. So if I can understand the physics of what's happening at Mercury and how that space weather is evolving and the physics behind that, I can apply that knowledge to the Earth. It's really going to get to grips with those questions, cause and effect, to do with space weather.
Suzie, Mercury is a fascinating planet. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you.